month, next year, and whenever. Amen. I'm just not working today good. It's like my mind's not working right, or my mouth isn't engaged or something. Shut up. Got enough from you. Amen. He wants us to learn to trust Him on a daily basis, because we don't know what tomorrow holds. Amen.
Right.
He may come and take us home before tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we're worried about something for nothing.
Yeah.
And so He's teaching them, when I set out the manna, when I put out the bread, take just enough for you and your family today. And listen to what it says. It goes on and says, and it shall come to pass that on the sixth day thou shalt prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. Because on the Sabbath day, we don't want you to work on the Sabbath. You gather twice as much on the sixth day, so that you'll have enough to last for 2 days. And the miracle in that was that if you took double the amount on the first 6 days, first 5 days, it would turn to worms. But on the sixth day, if you took double, it lasted. Makes me wonder why. Because God had planned it that way. Amen? And He was teaching them, I want you to trust me. Trust me daily. Trust me on the sixth day that it will last for 2 days. Now, how many of you ever heard the phrase, seeing is believing?
Oh, yeah.
The first week was probably difficult. But the second week should have been easy. But sometimes it's not so easy. I remember after I'd come to Christ, struggling financially, and my car broke down. I needed a new car. I kept telling my mother, I said, Mom, God's going to provide a car. She's like, man, I don't know when. I'm like, all I'm telling you, He's going to provide a car. Well, I'll see it when I believe it. I mean, I'll believe it. I'm telling you, I'm dyslexic today. She said, I'll believe it when I see it. And she told me that over and over. I'll believe it when I see it. God provided a car. I had this, it was a nice car too. It was a nice blue Chevy station wagon. And the reason I got it is because it had that back seat, and I knew my daughter and Doug's kids who come to church with me all the time, I knew they would love sitting in that back seat looking out the back window. Isn't it amazing how your heart changes when you have kids?
Mm-hmm.
Before it would have been a nice, sports car or something, that you like. But now you got kids, you want something for them. I remember having it sitting in the driveway, and all of a sudden it dawned on me. You only had it for a day or two. All of a sudden it dawned on me, Mom, go look in the driveway. She'd already seen it. She'd wrote in it. But she kept saying, I'll believe it when I see it. So I said, Mom, go look in the driveway. She looked out and wow. I said, what do you see there? She started laughing. She knew what I was saying. Amen. And that is the danger, that is the temptation for us to only believe God after He's done something. It's easy to believe then. We have to learn to believe Him before it takes place. Before you get the good doctor's report. We got to trust God for healing.
Right.
Amen. Before my house payment is paid, I got to trust Him to provide the finances. Before you receive a home of your own, you got to trust God to provide it. I went around for probably 6 months. God's going to give me a new car. It wasn't brand new, but God's going to give me a newer car, I should have been saying. I need another car, and I would confess it, and God eventually gave it to me. Amen? And we have to continue to trust God to meet our needs no matter what might take place in our lives. Amen. I was sharing, for those that didn't make it here New Year's Eve, for the first time in 36 years that I've been preaching, I preached a message solely on paying tithes, on the necessity of paying your tithes. And I began to share how if people knew how much money I actually took in, you'd be shocked that my bills are paid every month. Amen? I don't have a whole lot coming in, but I always have money in my pocket. I don't have a whole lot coming in, but my bills are always paid. The church bills and my bills. They're always paid. And sometimes, I mean, every month, BB, I'm praying, God, I need you to move on this. God, the utility bills haven't been paid yet. And yet, every month, at the end of the month, they're all paid. And I don't know how, but God does it. But I know the reason He does is because for 41 years, when I first learned about the principle of giving your 10% to God, I began to give my 10% to God. Somebody says, well, I'm not working, then you don't have 10%. But if you have an income, you have 10%. Sister Tinny was talking about, Sister Tinny used to come to our church. She told me, she said, Brother Tim, when I first started paying my tithes, it was only $2. $2 a week. In other words, she was making, now this was in the 60s, but it still wasn't much money. She was making $20 a week. But she paid her tithes. Amen? Now, I'm not talking about tithes today. I have mentioned tithes throughout the years through message, but I have never preached a full message on tithes. And I shared with the people beforehand, most of you pay tithes. So this is not I'm not browbeating you, or I'm not, correcting you. I'm just telling you why it's necessary. I felt the Lord actually gave me a dream last Sunday to preach on tithes. Amen. I didn't want to. That's one of the last things I like to talk about, is taking up an offering. But if God speaks to you and shows you to do it, you do it. Amen. Amen. But we have to obey God. And that's where, just as these people had to trust God to go out every day to gather up enough for one day, that's where it comes into our tithes and offering, that we trust God. That it may look like I'm not going to be able to pay my bills if I pay my tithes, but you may not be able to pay your bills if you don't pay your tithes.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
Amen. So, we look and we see that it says, and in the morning, I'm trying to think, where was I at? Did anybody remember? Let's go to 6. Oh, okay, we're going into 6. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, at evening then you shall know that the Lord hath brought you out of the land of Egypt, and in the morning then you shall see the glory of the Lord, for that He heareth your murmurings against the Lord. What are we that ye murmur against us? In other words, you're not murmuring against us. Who are we that you would murmur? That would be like you coming and complaining to me that God didn't meet your needs. It's not my fault. I know I represent Him, but I can only do so much. I can pray for you. I can encourage your faith. But the rest is up to you to have the faith to trust God to move.
That's right. Come on.
Amen. And Moses said, shall this be when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, that the Lord heareth your murmurings, that you murmur against Him? What are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. Amen. That's like getting mad at me if I preach something you don't like. That's like getting mad at me if I preach to you about tithe paying. Amen. I told someone once, I said, hey, don't kill me, I'm just a messenger. Stop trying to shoot at me. Amen. And Moses spake unto Aaron, saying unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, come near before the Lord, for He hath heard your murmurings. I'll tell you, I don't know about that. I'd be afraid to do that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Come before the Lord, because He heard your murmurings. I'd be a little concerned.